Have you ever shared the gospel with someone and they ask, why do you even believe that's true? Or you try to share Jesus with someone and they say, well, all religions lead to the same God. Sometimes we don't know how to answer these challenges, and it can cause our evangelism to fall short. Or worse, it can cause us to question our own faith. This is why the biblical practice of apologetics is important for two main reasons: to help doubting believers and to answer the questioning skeptic. If you've doubted your faith, take comfort. All Christians have been there, because no Christian has a perfect faith. For me, there was a point where my doubts became devastating. In 2011, I wound up in rehab after years of drug abuse. And one of the things they told us was that our addiction was a symptom of a deeper issue. Now, I was fighting many issues, but one of them was doubt. Doubt about God's goodness and why He would allow me or anyone else to suffer. I remember though, at night, I would lay in bed and would listen to the audiobook Mere Christianity. And I would hear the Christian worldview and the gospel explained in a deeply intellectual and even poetic way. It was a side of faith that I never even knew existed. But on my worst day in rehab, I remember I was about to quit and run away from the program. But God sent a pastor who showed up there simply to answer our questions. He opened up this space where we could give him our toughest challenges and doubts and objections, and he responded with persuasive reasons to trust in the Christian faith. He didn't have all the answers, and that's not the point. What's important was that he didn't condemn us or guilt trip us for our doubts. He simply helped us through those difficult issues. By doing so, he fulfilled the biblical command of Jude 22, which says, "Have mercy on those who doubt." And this is so needed, especially in an age where statistics show that anywhere from 50 to 70% of teenagers leave the faith once they hit college. This is partly due to unexpressed and unanswered doubt. But because of people like that pastor who showed up to my rehab, I was strengthened in my faith. And I believe Christians who follow his example can not only prevent people from leaving the faith, but build them up to be bold witnesses to this culture. This brings me to my next point. Apologetics helps answer the questioning skeptic. There are people out there who are genuinely seeking the truth, but have many objections about Christianity. For example, I've heard people say, "I'm a biology major and it just seems that the Bible and science are at odds." Or, "I could never believe in a God who would allow so much suffering and evil." This is where the biblical mandate to do apologetics comes in. 1 Peter 3:15 says, "But in your hearts revere Christ as Lord. Always be prepared to give an answer to everyone who asks you to give a reason for the hope that you have. Do this with gentleness and respect." There are people who are going to ask you, what's the reasons for believing in what you believe? In which Peter says, always be prepared to give them an answer. That word answer in the Greek is apologia, which is where we get the word apologetics. And it means a reasoned defense or a reason for our faith. Who do we give this reasoned defense to? Everyone who asks. We see Paul practice this behavior in the book of Acts, where it says he reasoned with the Jews in the synagogues year after year, showing them that from the scriptures, Jesus was the Messiah. He also did this with the philosophers in Athens who worship many false gods. What's interesting is Paul calls them very religious, not because he was saying they were correct in their beliefs, but because he was establishing common ground with them on the basis of their spirituality. And all for the purpose to point them away from their distorted views. Likewise, to help bridge their spiritual understanding to the true God, he even uses their own inscriptions and poets to explain who this God really is. We can take 1 Peter's command to always be prepared to give an answer and Paul's practice to relate to others as an aim for good apologetics. This fulfills the command to have a ready defense for what we believe and why. Here's a final note. Ultimately, our reasoned defense rests on the power of the Holy Spirit. After all, the book of Acts begins with Christ's promise in chapter 1, verse 8. "But you will receive power when the Holy Spirit has come upon you, and you will be my witnesses." So first, we receive power from the Holy Spirit, and then we become His witnesses. It is the Spirit who leads us. I remember after rehab, I was getting stronger in my faith, but I still had some serious doubts. And it was Jesus' words that changed everything. He says, when the Spirit of truth comes, He will guide you into all truth. Ultimately, it is the Spirit who helps us through our doubts. It is the Spirit who speaks through us to the questioning skeptic, and it is the Spirit who leads those skeptics to the truth about God. So whether you're a Christian who's doubting your faith, or you're just in a season where you're being asked many challenging questions, it is the Spirit who will establish you in your faith, and it is He who will always help you to be prepared to give an answer to anyone who asks.